We are in present-day Uppsala. As thirsty children, people gifted, or some might say cursed, with the sight of things that aren't visible to the broad public, both of you have been recruited into the Obscure Society, an organization made of a very small group of hunters and investigators, a butler for your headquarters, the very ramshackle castle Güllenkreuz, and, of course, the two of you. From time to time, the society is approached by people seeking help with supernatural problems. These cases are usually solved by unraveling the mystery behind the Vaesen causing problems and researching a ritual to calm, banish, or befriend the creature. The use of violence can't be avoided sometimes, but never actually solves the situation. This time, Kjell, Matthias' character, has been approached by an acquaintance and work colleague. Sylvia works at the Clinical Institute of Neuroscience in Uppsala, just a few minutes outside of the city, and has heard that Kjell got a strange friend who might be willing to investigate something very worrisome on Sylvia's ward. The first steps into the investigation produced the following. Patients have been sleeping badly for some time. It's like an epidemic of nightmares. People who have been getting better after medication settled in are suddenly worse, feeling exhausted, and their respective ailments grew stronger. As you hear, several people claim to have sleep paralysis. By this point, you are pretty sure you are facing a creature called a mare. So you choose your most protective notebook, sharpest pencil, and a 5-kilogram pack of lentils to distract the mare. Thusly prepared, you head towards the clinic. Nightfall arrives with you on location, and you brace yourself for the real questions. What drove the mare so angry they attacked people en masse? What is the story of this Vaesen? And will you be able to stall the mare before she starts killing people and until you can tell her to her face that she isn't a real woman in the moment of her transformation? Let's hope you got all the information and aren't missing a crucial detail. Please, Craig, tell us who you are and what your most helpful assets are that you bring to this investigation.
Well, my name is Richard Demoner, and I'm what you'd call a witch. A slightly old-fashioned term, but it suits me. I'm someone with powers. Powers some would consider unusual. I wasn't born to these powers. I made some deals to get them, but that suits me just fine. We don't need to go into how I got into this world, but it's a world I'm in, and a world I believe needs to be protected, guarded. There are things out there that do not mean people harm, but sometimes, well, humans, we don't understand that, do we? Again, I have a few intriguing powers. I'm quite an intellectual man. I have a spell or two, although I can't conjure lightning bolts or anything like that. But I do have a knife, blessed in silver, often quite useful for dealing with creatures of the Vaesen. I have a herbal kit and a little portable ritual circle, useful for conducting rituals that are often necessary for communicating with beings of the other world. And, well, that's about it, but, again, these things are helpful. especially in a case like this, which I'm hoping will not be too difficult to solve. I'm hoping. I'm quite a thin man with a nice smart coat in my late 40s, and yes, I'm a bit chilly tonight, with a coat on as well, but hopefully everything will go according to plan.
And who are you, Matthias, and what are your most valuable skills and assets you bring to this investigation?
Well, the man you see is young, in his mid-20s, brown hair and sporting a mustache. He's got a tired but kind look. My name is Kjell Drakar, and as my day job, I'm a nurse in a cancer ward. I help people in their fight against that horrible disease. And there's this other thing I'm doing with the society, helping fighting other ways. I'm used to seeing how fragile life is, how thin the border between being alive and not truly is. It's tough, though, I think, as I'm touching the pill case in my pocket that I often have to resort to. But, well, what do I bring? I am a trained nurse. I can help others find relief when they're feeling their worst. And, yes, I have a stethoscope, a pulse oximeter, a first aid kit. If anyone gets injured, I'll be able to help them deal with that. And I'm also quite good in stressful situations. I'm used to, people being in a state where they're very close to death and having to act very, very quickly. So I'm used to that. I think that's what I mainly bring.
I think it will be of good service to you. It is early evening on an autumn day, which means the sun has already settled pretty early. The clinic itself is located quite idyllically in a small green park. The premise is surrounded by thick hedges and ash trees. The driveway has seen better days, but prevents you from slipping on the wet ground. The main building is 3 stories high and seems to contain the bedrooms, medical facilities, treatment area, and administration. You can see only so much of its 60s years charm because most of the facade is hidden behind scaffolding. Containers filled with debris are waiting next to the driveway to be taken away. The closer you come, the louder you hear the constant noise of drills and buzzsaws from the inside. You can see further auxiliary buildings. One of them seems to be a gym and swimming pool. Others look like garages, maintenance and storage space. The lawn doesn't appear to be cut very often. The hedge sprawls out of proportion, and those windows you can see have turned blind. Once there was a system of signs that would lead visitors to their destinations, but most of them are fainted. To get entry, you have to guess the right button to press on the doorbell.
I'll look to my companion, to Rickard. Well, what do you think?
Well, you'd think they'd have a better system in place for the doorbell here. It's rather unprofessional, isn't it?
Well, I suppose so. Perhaps there's a reason for it all. Well, we'll just have to try and guess which one opens here, so... Do you mind if I do the honors?
Please do, Shell. Please do.
And yeah, if the only way to get through this is to guess randomly at which button might do the trick, I suppose I will try to do that. Is there any kind of ability or... well, something mystical perhaps that might be able to aid us in a situation like this one?
As you have a closer look and talk about this, you are reminded of an effect that Vaesen often have. If they are angry or active in in a difficult way, they often start changing their surroundings. So maybe there have been readable labels to the doorbells, but if they're fainted and gone now, that might have been time or the doing of the Vaesen. So that's something that you get from looking at them. After that, you probably press a few buttons and finally the door opens.
Huh, look at that. Lucky.
Would we be aware of the staff and the patients still being here at this time of the day?
Yes.
Yes. Well then, we've already made our initial inquiries. Question is, Shell, have we missed anything? What do I know of mares? Have I ever encountered them before?
The thing is that today things aren't the same way they used to be. There are quite a lot reports on your archives back at the castle about mares, and usually they are women who aren't aware that they change into something horrible and life-draining during night, and they are just an ordinary person during daylight. With all the new material, all the new stories, all the new ideas about what is out there in the dark, the Vaesen have changed. They adapted to some of these stories to better fit in. And so a mare might be something completely different by now, changed. And so you go into most situations with this knowledge from the past, but you have to adapt it to the newer times.
Therefore, it's entirely possible that whilst a patient or even a staff member could be the mare could be, perhaps have broken its shackles of physicality and be a mental projection or a spirit with no physical form. Maybe. I'll be mulling that over as I say to Shell, well, what do you think? Shall we try the old-fashioned methods and see if we can deduce who the mare is? By assessing the people here? Or, well, we never know, it might have transcended beyond being a person that we can talk to, at least initially, without ritual.
Yes, well, I think we should expect the unexpected, as per usual. But let's try and see if perhaps we are dealing with a traditional Vaesen, one that likes to stick to the past. That would be nice for a change. Well, let's head inside.
I'll join Shell heading inside and see if we can find any of the staff, who hopefully already know us.
You head inside, and to your left, there is a counter with a woman sitting next to a computer and doing some important admin work. But as you enter, she looks up. With her in the booth, you can actually see Sylvia, the former colleague and acquaintance of Shell.
Ah, Sylvia, there you are.
Shell, so nice to meet you. I'm glad you can make it.
Yes, and this is Rickard.
Yeah, so nice to meet you.
Ah, a pleasure, Sylvia, a pleasure. Yes, I've been informed of the matter, and, well, I made sure to come as quickly as I could. I often like to help Shell out. They've certainly helped me in the past.
Shall we go have a cup of coffee and you can perhaps tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, sure, that's a great idea. Since it's already getting late, the office next door is free, so we can use that one. I don't have much time. I have to be back on my ward in like 15 minutes, but I can of course give you some more details.
That would be very appreciated. So I'll follow her then and see if we can learn a little bit more about where to start our investigation.
And you enter the office room. It is a white place. The walls are white, the ceiling is white, the cupboards and shelves are all white, the desk is white. There's a small kitchen corner
Sylvia, did you tell Shell, when did this actually all begin? Do you have like a time frame, a week, a month?
The things are going on, I think, for round about 4 weeks by this point. It just started shortly after the constructions on the 3rd floor started. We are in a big renovation thing, so the complete floor is being completely gutted and will be redesigned. And the handyman ripped out a lot of the equipment, furniture, and even walls from there. And I think it was just like 3-4 days after they started that we noticed that several patients showed signs of heavy exhaustion, short breath, high blood pressure. Some of them weren't able to speak, and they are getting worse.
You say that it started right after the renovations began. Is it possible that this thing might have been disturbed from its slumber, that it was locked away perhaps in the old walls or something like that?
I think that's possible. Depending on who you ask, you get all kinds of stories. Of course, management doesn't want to hear anything about it, but they're too tied up in their infighting to actually help with anything. So there are so many rumors going around, and I think they started with the construction workers. Most people are talking about ghosts. That somebody died in here or killed somebody else or jumped out of a window, and that this ghost visits the people at night.
Sometimes it's best to sift through fact versus fiction. How much of that would be even remotely true? What is the 3rd floor of this hospital? What did it used to be used for before the renovations? Were patients up there? Doctors? Offices?
This whole thing was built in the 60s, just as neurological sciences got their names and got a lot of funds funneled towards them. And so this was built as a research facility and a hospital. We have a ward on each floor. Treatment areas are on 2nd and 3rd floor, and down here we have admin instead of treatment. Back then, the whole hospital was planned in the same way. So you had like your station with the bedrooms for the patients, and then you would have the nurses' room, and you would have the head doctor's room and doctor's office and stuff. So it is mostly self-contained, except for treatment down here. So you have to go to the labs upstairs.
So, the point of the renovations, I assume, was to make new space. You say things like pulled out equipment and walls. Are there any rooms that were changed quite dramatically? For example, a treatment room that suddenly was made into a larger treatment room, or an old office, that sort of thing.
The most I heard about was the old head doctor's office.
That sounds interesting. Would there perhaps also be some kind of history connected with the old head doctor? I mean, did he perhaps perish under mysterious circumstances, or found hanged in his office or something like that?
One of the workers, I think he's called Mats. He said something about finding some notebooks of that guy.
Oh, that's very interesting. Would Mats still have those notebooks, or has he placed them somewhere where we could perhaps have a look?
I don't know. You probably have to ask him himself. He should still be up there. They are due to stop working in an hour.
That's perfect. I'll see if I can find them then and locate these notebooks. It certainly would be interesting to know what the head doctor was up to, and if it is perhaps in any way related to this sudden appearance of this mare.
Indeed, it could also be useful to look around the floor in general. We could split up for a moment. Otherwise, I lean over to Shell. It does sound as if we've potentially at least found the site of our ritual. The third floor probably would be a good place to do it.
I would agree. All right, well, let's get started then. Sylvia, do you have anything else that you think we should know about before we begin? I mean, I know you want to get back to your shift, so we'll let you go.
I think if you want to know more about the history of the hospital, stuff changed a lot, so there's not much that people can tell you, but there's an archive down here, so that might be an idea to have a look into that.
That would be a good thing to look at. I could look at that first, in fact, while you go upstairs, perhaps, Shell. One final question, Sylvia. It might be a bit of a random question. Patients. Did you have any new patients in the last month, just before this all occurred, or since?
We had 2 new entries last week, but most people are here for long-time treatment.
So none around the time the incident started occurring?
No.
That's helpful to know, thank you. Alright then, Shell, what did you say? I could stop by this archive quickly while you go and interrogate our friends upstairs?
I think that sounds like an excellent idea, Rickard. I'll get started speaking to Mats then, and good luck in the archives.
I am working on Ward 2, if you're looking for me, if I can help you with anything. I said the vice director that we are having some visitors from the university, so that should cover you for a few hours. I don't know how long you intend to stay. It's probably not working after midnight anymore.
Oh, we'll try to get out of here as soon as we can, but of course we definitely do want to help solve this issue for you.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions, Irmgard on the welcoming desk is probably helping you, can probably help you with finding whatever you need. I think you need a key for the archives. If you can give me this one back in an hour, you should be able to enter that. And she gives a key to Richard.
I'll do my best to get this done nice and quickly in the hour. With that, I'll take the key and, after directions, make my way to that archive, saying to Shell, meet you back in an hour or so.
Very good.
Wonderful. So we shall follow Richard for a minute or two. The archive isn't too far away. It is pretty close to the secretary rooms, to the management, basically next door, and after you unlocked your entry, you see there's another door leading directly to the secretary room. But at the moment, you are alone. The air smells dusty, and after 1 or 2 steps, you are surrounded by grey, time-forgotten file containers.
Well, I can't say it's an environment I'm not used to. I am an avid reader, after all. I know some things when it comes to research. I'm not going to be able to look for every single file in an hour, so I'm going to have to focus. I want to try and find articles or information referring to the third floor, preferably the last 10-20 years, this doctor, the head doctor, and again, anything that seems unusual or untoward. I do have a few skills in logic. I have vigilance and learning and investigation. Are any of those things going to help me here?
We are going for investigation, so please take investigation, and I think logic is the connected attribute to this.
Wonderful. So I'm rolling, I think that would give me 6d6. What do I want?
You want sixes. A six is a success, and the more successes you roll, the more you will find out.
Well, unfortunately, I only get 1 6. So a success, but not a massive one.
I can offer you something. Vaesen, unlike Coriolis, doesn't have darkness points, but it also has a mechanic to push your roll. You can simply accept a fitting condition. In this case, you're rolling for a mental roll, so you have to choose one of those 3 conditions. You take it, and then you roll any dice that aren't a success again. Thing is, after you accumulated 3 conditions of one type, you are out of commission. You are broken and need the help of your friends to come back together.
Well, I tell you what, we do need to make sure this gets done, and I'm a little irritated that I'm not finding more. I only have an hour. So I'm going to take your bargain. I will accept becoming angry. And roll the 5 dice again. And that time, that gains me 3 additional successes. So now I have 4 6s in total.
How does the anger keep you going through these files? How does it help you, actually?
I feel the organization is absolutely terrible here. It's clear that the person in charge of this doesn't do a very good job, and that's irritating. It's getting in the way of my research. So I begin filing and organizing some of the papers myself as quickly as I can, quickly on a table, not really caring who puts it away, getting everything out at once. And again, I start looking, because again, I'm sure there's going to be a clue here, and I'll be extremely angry if I miss it.
Indeed. And funnily enough, the misorganization of the archive works into your favor, because you look into some of these old files back from the 60s and 70s, and you notice that some of them are bundled but put very far into the back of the container, and you have a short look at them, and then you realize, oh wait, these are research results and observations, and you just have a short glance on them, and you see something that you just heard earlier in your conversation with Sylvia. A lot of cases of overexhaustion, terrible nightmares, and several times underlined sleep paralysis.
Interesting. So these cases have happened before. Were they by any chance all seen by one doctor, or did they refer to one patient? In particular, maybe.
You go further and further, and you realize most of them were happening on Station 3. There are a few on Station 2. And you realize, wait, apparently somebody wrote down the room numbers of the patients. And you notice that there are 2 patients with the surname Blom who aren't affected by any of these effects, but the symptoms seem to be all around them in the neighboring rooms.
I see, so there were these 2 Blum patients. What happened to the Blum patients? Were they discharged?
You dig deeper, and you realize that both patients were suffering from a very severe form of dementia. rapidly declining in their mental facilities, and they have been moved from this place to another. It seems they have been going to an hospice.
And of course by now they'll long be deceased. Presumably. How old were they in the 60s?
They were in the middle of their 50s.
I see. Interesting. The rooms. Do I get those rooms that they were in?
Yeah. You get the room. It is room 206.
That is very interesting. 2 patients, seemingly with their own issues, but causing a great deal of disturbance around them, that were on that floor in that room. Now, they might have simply been victims, but maybe it's the room itself, or the patients? Well, that I'll need to figure out later, but I think this is enough for now. It's been an hour. I tried to put these files away, and I'm going to go and find Shell and inform him of what I found. Hopefully, he's found a little as well.
So, Shell, first question. There are 2 possible ways up. The staircase or an elevator. What do you take?
I think an elevator is a little bit too lazy. I need to move anyway, so I'll take the stairs.
You take the stairs. And it is a horribly plain stairwell that you're walking up. And it feels like every single step that you take just makes the staircase longer and longer and longer. There is a breeze of chilly air coming down from the top floor, and you start to have the feeling that you already came across the door with the number 1 for first floor, which you should have taken to enter this place twice. Please roll for vigilance.
Those are triple ones.
Unlucky. You can also push your roll if you want to.
Well, I need to get away from these stairs. I cannot be stuck here all day long. I'll try and push my roll. Oh, look at that. 1 success.
How do you feel as you steadily climb up the stairs? Are you angry? Does it scare you? Or make you feel hopeless?
I suppose I get a little bit angry. You know, here I am out to help my friend, and we have all these things to do, and I can't even get to the right floor. I'm angry at myself, and I'm angry at this place for trying to hold me back so in such a direct way. I mean, it's upsetting. But I'm here to help Sylvia after all, and I suppose I'll just try to push through it.
You do. And with refreshed determination, you take 2 steps at a time. And as you move upstairs, you have a stare at the stairs to make sure that they don't do any funny business. And you see them trying. It is something that you can actually observe. And it does look like they're trying to disappear from your field of vision, like they're dissolving into thin air and then reappearing, reordering themselves. It is a very, very strange thing indeed. And it starts getting to you. There is a role in this game called the fear check or fear test, in which you have to resist becoming frightened and fall back to your most basic instincts, like fleeing or just attacking the source of terror. You feel you're bordering at this. Not yet, but soon. You hadn't have a room trying to disappear from you yet. And it's not something that's usually connected to a mare. That's something new.
It is. It is new. Well, am I able to get to where I'm going, or am I stuck?
No. Finally, you're getting there.
I breathe out a sigh of relief as I open up what I presume is the door then to the floor to which I'm heading.
There is a door. And directly after the door, there are thick sheets of plastic foil to avoid the huge amounts of dust that are in the air up here to venture too deep into the rest of the hospital. You have a impression of what this place could have looked like from the ground floor. So many walls are gone. You can have a free line of sight through half of the building. You hear construction noises coming from your right side. There are people still ripping out some of the walls, and they have to build up new columns and pillars for the time being to just secure the ceiling not falling down. And it is a busy area. Since it is already dark outside, the construction workers defaulted to floodlight to bring some brightness to this place.
I'll begin looking around for one of the workers. I am looking for Mats after all. And while I'm at it, I'm also looking for this head doctor's office, if there's any sign of that. But I suppose they've just cut down all the walls, haven't they?
Yes, there are no signs of the office. But soon you get sight of one of the workers who isn't handling heavy machinery that's potentially dangerous to any careless person. So you get directions and finally stand in front of Mats. He is a large guy, broad shoulders, a lot of beard, and the first impression you get from this guy is he looks like somebody who is used to hard work and who is like a very cheerful person. The way the wrinkles are scattered around his eyes, it's just like, yeah, this man usually laughs a lot. But not today. He looks actually worried, and you turning up doesn't help with that.
I'm sorry for interrupting you in the middle of your work. I'm here on behalf of Sylvia, actually, or to help Sylvia, rather. I understand you found some notebooks from the old head doctor, and that there was perhaps something we could learn about what was going on here before.
Are you with police or something?
I was just helping Sylvia. People have been worried here recently, haven't they? And it's probably nothing, but it's always good to know the history of places like these, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, you're probably right. And I would like for you to roll a observation test. Take your die from observation and add your empathy.
Am I able to push here as well?
Yeah, sure.
No successes.
You take a condition nonetheless.
I suppose I'll get a little bit hopeless, you know? It's not fun that things are so difficult, you know? Like first I'm not able to find my way here, and then I just feel like I'm not really reaching through to Mats. Like, he doesn't really understand what I'm here to do, and how could he, of course? I'm doing something very strange, you know? Normal people don't understand that. So, yeah, I guess I'm getting quite frustrated at the entire situation. And maybe he can notice that.
Both of you are concerned with your feelings instead of his. He looks at you and says, I was one of the people who took down that office back at the end of the floor, you know?
Yeah.
And there were some papers and stuff, and I had a look at it. And most of it is just like medical mumbo jumbo, but there were some notebooks, you know. There was this head doctor, yeah, and he had a nurse who was working here, and she wasn't doing great. I think there might have been somebody in the hospital she was worried for, and then she, I think, took her life.
The nurse took her life. That might explain things. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that information.
Yeah. He doesn't look at you anymore.
I'll begin moving off then. I need to meet up with Rickard to tell him about what I've found.
Rickard, you finished your research. What do you do as you intend to leave the room?
Well, I intend to leave via the door, if I can, or how I came in.
Yeah, that's a simple thing. You enter a room through a door and you leave it through a door, in most cases. You'd pick up your things. You probably had a pen or a pencil or something like this with you to make notes. You pick up your notebook and you can't find your writing utensil anymore. It's just gone.
Well, that's irritating. I will attempt to look for it, although I won't put too much effort in. We're in a bit of a hurry here. I look under the chair, the table, by the filing cabinets.
And then I need you to roll either logic or empathy, whatever is higher.
1 success.
You find yourself outside of the room. You have absolutely no idea how you got through this door.
Fascinating. I look around for a moment. I assume I'm going to have to accept that I've lost my pencil. But I say very quietly, to no one in particular, you don't want us here, do you?
There isn't really an answer. But the lights flicker. And as you look up towards the bright lights on the ceiling to check what's happening, you see that there is a rather large sign which directs you to the different important places in the hospital. But what you read probably only 20 minutes ago is now absolutely unreadable.
As in on the signs?
Yes.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to just have to assume that going up will lead me to the 3rd floor eventually. So I'm going to have to try that. Although, I don't suppose I see the lift anywhere, do I?
There is one, yes.
Well, when in doubt. I'll try going into the lift to see if I can make my way to the 3rd floor. As I say quietly, we're not going to be here long, but we need to help you. We can't do that if we can't meet. And I'll try and find the button, hopefully for the 3rd floor. But if not, I'll press one at random, if they all are obtuse.
Yeah, the furthest one up is probably 3rd floor, so you press that one.
I'll try that one.
Shell, how do you feel about the stairwell?
I'm not a fan of this stairwell. It's been messing with me. And I'm angry, and I'm irritated by how difficult this is all proving. So I'll take the elevator this time.
It is a rather spacious elevator. It has to have enough space for a complete hospital bed to fit in. So, as the doors open on the 3rd floor, you're greeted by a vast empty space and Richard, who is just here to meet you.
Ah, Shell. I had a little trouble getting out of the archives. I trust you not been impeded so far?
Well, this stairwell, it doesn't like people going upstairs. At least it didn't like me doing that.
You don't say. Shell, this is rather unusual. This mayor is seeming to be able to manipulate time and space, which is not normally what they're known for. But that's what's happening. Doors are vanishing and closing. You say stairways are impeding you. Somehow this thing is able to manipulate the building, and it doesn't want us here.
It definitely doesn't. I learned some things. I learned that there was a nurse that, she killed herself in the building. And it's not at all unlikely, if traditions hold, that she would be the one who has turned into this mare.
Possibly indeed. Again, normally they require the person to still be alive, but maybe her spirit somehow, halfway. I've also learnt that this isn't the first time these incidents have occurred. They did occur many, many years ago, far less potent though, and it was all focused around 2 patients, the Blum patients, who were in one of the rooms on this floor. There could be a connection between the nurse and these patients and these matters. I think this room is where we must have our ritual. The question is, can we find it now? I imagine the floor plan has changed.
I mean, at least upstairs, the head doctor's office was completely gone. They've torn down all the walls, but on the 2nd floor?
Ah, that's a good point, actually. It's on the 2nd floor, that room. Well, there we are. I think we have a conundrum here, Shell. Either we try and find this room, or we try and find the doctor's room for our ritual. We might not be able to do a ritual in both. What do you think? What does your gut tell you?
Well, as I said, the head doctor's room is just completely gone. So unless we just want to do it on the 3rd floor and hope for the best, I think we'd better find this room 205 and see if that perhaps is where the connection lies.
I agree with you. It's possible that the 3rd floor could be the focus, but maybe the stem of the issue actually comes from somewhere else. I guess we'll have to give it a go.
Let's try.
In that case, I'll wait for Shell to join me in the lift, and we'll try and make our way to hopefully find this patient room.
You go down by 1 floor. Here is a yellowy white lit space. It is lived in. It isn't as torn and gutted as the 3rd floor, and it doesn't feel as empty as the waiting area that welcomed you at the front desk. You see nurses and a doctor walking on the floor of the ward. There are several rooms to your left where the treatments are administered and the labs for the tests on the patients, and here is quite some life. The bedrooms are nicely numbered. So, those signs aren't gone yet.
It's a good sign. Alright then, I'll lead the way and see if I can locate the former Bloom patient's room.
Room 206. You find room 205 to your right, as well as room 207.
Do I recall which room it was? My memory already is slightly fuzzy.
206, the room in between.
Ah, I see, it was room 206. Would you like to do the honours, Mr. Shell?
Oh, certainly. I'll see if I can first of all figure out if this room is actually occupied, because I wouldn't want to just barge in on someone if they're in the middle of, I don't know, changing clothes or something like that. I'll knock on the door.
There's no answer. Also, the knock feels strangely hollow.
That is a sign that this might indeed be what we're looking for. The knock is kind of hollow, you hear? Alright. I will attempt to open the door then.
It swings open. The room is empty. There's no bed, no wardrobe, no shower, no sink, nothing. It is just an empty room.
I walk around the room, pace around, just trying to see if I can find anything, but I guess I don't. So I look to Rickard and I say, I suppose there's nothing here. I guess we could do the ritual here and just hope for the best.
Well, I suppose it doesn't hurt to try. You know the drill. The goal of such rituals is not to antagonize, but to communicate. Who knows who we'll find in here, but this clearly is a sign. If they've removed... If they're trying to throw us off, perhaps, they've made an empty room. I think we try the ritual here. Initially, at least. Let's see how we do. What do you say?
I agree.
The thing is, are you both in the room now?
I've stepped in, yes.
I have as well.
You realize, as the door is still open, one of the nurses is moving a large bed across the corridor in front of the room. It actually bumps into something. And you realize you can't hear anything from the outside.
Well, that might actually be positive for us, right? I mean, we don't want the nurses to hear... I guess there's chanting involved, Rickard?
Sometimes. I'm going to close the door, Shell. It could be very dangerous, of course, but... You know what we vowed, we need to protect people, so just in case, better that it stays in with us.
I agree.
And I'll close the door.
And as you do, you feel completely cut off from the outside world. Like you're in your very own personal cosmos.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play Remember Me for Vaesen, and specifically the Modern Vaesen edition. Our GM was our dear friend Tom Murr, who was also part of the team writing this edition. You can find Modern Vaesen on DriveThruRPG by following the link in the show notes. The music was made by Phonotech, and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient. We'd like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Antxon, and Graham Barey for their generous support. We would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that at your doorstep, in the shadows, Something stirs.